All right, everybody. Hey, Mr. Harvey here. Gonna give us a little Friday lecture. Sorry for being a little late. It's been a busy day for me. But let's get started. Let's kind of review a little bit of who we were talking about, and then we'll jump into some new content for Chapter 6, the Scientific Revolution. Here we go. So when we were last talking on Thursday, yesterday, we left off on Francis Bacon and Rene Descartes. Quickly, just want to kind of go through these two thinkers and their influence within the scientific revolution. So, Francis Bacon, English, really challenged that notion that most truth had already been discovered. And when you think of Francis Bacon, I really want you all to be thinking about the Renaissance. Clearly, he was influenced by that Greek notion of truth, finding the truth, and he is really challenging the notion that most truth had already been discovered. And so we're also going to see with him in his big contribution, obviously, to the scientific method, which we were talking about, that inductive reasoning going from a specific observation to a general theory. And he is also regarded for his importance with empiricism, looking at the world through your own eyes and basing your conclusion on your own observations, not letting some one or something kind of dictate your thinking for you. And we're going to see that his inductive method, taking those specific observations to general theories, coupled with Descartes' deductive method, is going to be forming our modern scientific method, and clearly important today in the scientific fields. And there he is, rocking the hat, love it, and the collar. Right, and we talked a little bit about this book cover, NOVUM, ORGANUM, I believe. Looking, expanding, searching for the world yourself. Going off, adventuring, seeking knowledge, exploring, and that cover really shows his that influence. Descartes, French mathematician, brilliant, showcases the relationship between algebra and geometry. And as I alluded to earlier, he is so important for his deductive reasoning, which is the opposite of the inductive reasoning. It's going reasoning from general principles to arrive at a specific fact. Combine that with the inductive reasoning, and we're going to be getting that modern scientific method that many of you are using this year in biology or AP biology. And remember, Descartes, he saw the world. He saw the world through absolute certainty, and so because he wanted to make sure that he was absolutely certain about things, he doubted everything. But and we were talking about his famous quote, he could not doubt his own existence because the very act of doubting proved that he existed, because he was aware of his consciousness. He was aware of the doubting, and because he was aware of that doubting, that proved that he existed. So a la his famous quote, I think, therefore I am. I think, therefore I exist. So very interesting. Let's talk a little bit about Cartesian dualism. And this is another one of his philosophical approaches to the world. Cartesian dualism is the notion that he's going to be separating the world into kind of two categories, the mind and the body. Thinking is going to be the important quality of the mind, our consciousness, how we perceive the world, what we're looking at, what we're seeing. And thinking is going to be the way that we understand the body. And the body is kind of everything else that occupies space, its extension. So what this means, and what I want you guys to understand, is that the mind, okay, this thinking helps us understand the extension. And so human reason, thinking, is the kind of way that we understand the world of extension, is the way that we understand the world. Our thinking, our reason, is the way that we can understand, interpret, and know the world of extension. Okay, and it's reason, our thinking, is what helps us understand the world. I really want you all to be paying attention to this word reason. It's a really important word for the scientific revolution, and in chapter 9 we're going to be talking about the Enlightenment. People using reason, logic, to understand the world, not relying on religion, superstition, using your reason, breaking things down, trying to understand them based on your own observations, based on experimentation. And this idea of reason helping us understand the world, helping us understand this world of extension, the mechanical world. And we're seeing that with our thinkers, Isaac Newton, Galileo, Kepler, using reason, math, figuring things out to help them understand how things work. Okay. And being able to, create, therefore, mathematical laws that help us understand how the world works. Okay. So this is Cartesian dualism. Okay. That thinking, helping us understand the world of the extension. Okay. And there's Descartes, rocking the soul patch. Love it. Let's talk about anatomy and physiology. We're going to see some huge advancements with anatomy and physiology during this time. The medieval thinker that is going to be discredited and disproven is Galen. I've studied a little bit about Galen when I was at college, and Galen's big problem was that it was kind of sacrilegious. It was outlawed to work on human bodies. So a lot of his medical research and a lot of his knowledge about, the human body in quotation marks is going to be from like animals. He dissected animals. The problem with dissecting animals is that they're not humans. So he's going to be completely wrong on so many levels because he's not dissecting humans. The two people that are going to be discrediting him, and I would argue the most important one is going to be Vesalius, Andreas Vesalius. His text, we need to know this text, The Structure of the Human Body, also known as the Fabrica, is going to absolutely disprove his Galen's thinkings. Now, Vesalius is really important, and I want you to know him for sure because he is going to start building the precedent of where a physician is also the surgeon. Before Vesalius, most doctors, a physician, and surgeons were two different people. They did different jobs. So, like, say for example, back in the day before Vesalius, a doctor would there would be a doctor and a surgeon in the room, and the doctor would be telling the surgeon like what to cut or what to operate on. That's like sketch, super sketch. Vesalius was so interested in the human body that he would do the cutting, he would do the investigations for himself, and he would, pay off gravediggers, and buy carcasses, buy bodies, and he would just cut them open. And he would look and see what's in there. And so he's going to bridge that idea that the doctor is also the surgeon, and he's going to start creating that precedent. And he is going to be renowned, in his book, The Fabrica, is going to be filled with these detailed drawings of muscles, bones, tissues, and just very, very, very complex. And he's going to exhibit a complex understanding of the human body. Next up is William Harvey. William Harvey, English. He is going to be the thinker who is going to explain how the circulatory system works. And how blood is going to be pumped by the heart and circulate throughout the bodies. Veins, arteries, capillaries. He's going to really go into detail about how our circulatory system works. Okay, so these are two physiologists, two thinkers concerning anatomy and physiology that are going to be very, very, very important to know. Anton van Leeuwenhoek, he is Dutch. No coincidence that he is Dutch. Remember, Protestant, open to new ideas. And he is going to be the father of microscopy. He's going to develop some of the first powerful microscopes, and when he does that, he is going to change the game big time. He's going to be writing about bacteriums, prokaryotic cells, eukaryotic cells. He is going to take a look at a world that humans just don't see at a cellular level, at a microscopic level, and that is going to completely eventually lead the way to germ theory, which Europeans absolutely needed during the Black Death. It's going to eventually lead to vaccinations. It's going to change everything. So being able to see the world that we don't see at a very microscopic level. Okay, Anton van Leeuwenhoek. With science just blowing up, we're going to see new scientific institutions start to arise throughout Europe, and these are royal scientific societies. This notion of new knowledge being created is going to require new institutions, and these are our royal scientific societies. So we're going to see, because universities are going to be kind of like, this science stuff is too new, I don't know if we're going to accept it. We're going to see scientists kind of create new intellectual institutions. Universities are not going to be, they're going to be behind. And it makes sense, because they're going to be a little scared of accepting all this radical new ideas, all this changing information that might not align with their ideals. So we're going to see that scientists come up with a new framework and these new institutions to share their discoveries and to talk about it. And those will be our royal scientific societies. And these are going to be established institutions of sharing knowledge, of talking about knowledge, having discussions about these new discoveries. We're going to see people meeting up and saying, hey, you're like these. We're going to see, astronomers talking about their discoveries, what they're seeing, and sharing and having discussions about this. Physiologists talking about what they're seeing in the human body. So we're going to see scientists meeting up and discussing science. This is going to allow for debate. It's going to be allow for an exchange of ideas. And it's going to help forge like an international intellectual scientific society, which is eventually going to propel itself to even more advances in science. So we're seeing new institutions, intellectual institutions, being created on the basis of purely science. Okay. The most famous of these societies is, no coincidence, going to take place in a Protestant nation, the Royal Society of London. We're also going to see Germany is going to have its Berlin Academy of Science. There's going to be a French Academy of Science, an Academy of Experience in Florence. But the most famous one is going to be the Royal Society of London. And we're going to be linking science. We're going to be talking later about the Industrial Revolution, the Agricultural Revolution, which are going to be starting in our Protestant countries. So it's no coincidence that we're going to see the most famous, the most progressive, the most intense of these royal scientific societies is going to be in London. These scientific societies are going to meet regularly. They're going to, watch different thinkers, perform experiments. They're going to observe these experiments. They're going to listen to new types of research. This is just an exchange of ideas. And this is what's really important about science, and we're going to be talking about this later, and you'll understand this a little bit later, but we're going to see members of science present this science as a way that can help government and help the economy, also help the military. That's the way scientists are going to be getting their funding. They're going to be saying, hey, look, we can do something. Like, if you fund us and you can help us get some money, we can create new stuff, like new weapons. We can create medicine that can help your troops, or we can create new devices that can make us a lot of money. We're gonna start seeing science get integrated with the rest of society, and show how science is going to just impact so many facets of the world. But this is one of the ways that members are going to get politicians and governments to invest in science, is because there's going to be something in it for the government. Okay, you'll definitely be thinking about that in terms of the military. A good example is like the nuclear bomb. We're going to see the government invest in nuclear research because, well, they want to make a bomb, the bomb of all bombs. They're not investing in nuclear research for, energy or anything. They're going to weaponize it, and we'll see that a lot with science. Typically, we'll see governments weaponize their science first, and we will talk about that. Okay, so we're going to see, and just to kind of continue on this point, this interaction of scientific societies with both the government and business is going to cultivate the presence of science in Europe, and eventually cultivate the Enlightenment movement. We're going to see with the scientific societies, meeting with governments, publishing their papers, do the printing press, spreading these ideas. Eventually, this will facilitate our enlightenment of where we see scientific thinking applied to other areas of life, economics, and politics, socially, so many different facets. So let's continue, okay? Let's talk about the ladies. Actually, let me stop here, and I'll upload another video talking about women.